And welcome in everybody to episode number 20 of the Scholastic Sit Down here. We've got a lot of great hockey to talk about. It is that time of the year simply. The weather's getting nice. It's more than a pleasure to have you folks on this podcast. Dylan Ward is my partner. My name is Luke Jordan. This will be the loudest I speak all episode because I don't know what I'm battling. I thought it was a cold, and I was like almost about just let me just tell you, it has not been a great last couple hours, but we're healed up and I feel a little bit better now. So I'm glad. Just in time, Dylan.
Luke, I'm more than thrilled to hear that, especially since we've got this podcast coming up. And I mean, we've got a lot to talk about. SHL final has been determined which two teams are making it. We'll get to that in a moment. We got state ramping up as well, and it's just going to be a great finish to the high school hockey season in all facets.
Dylan said it there. We have our SHL final set. Let's look at some of the semifinals, the two semifinals that got us to our final matchup. So we started with St. Viator and York. They played their game one on February, game two on or February 14th, game two on Sunday, February 15th. And boy, oh boy, St. Viator against the Dukes, they keep on rolling. They end up winning game one 4-0 with an impressive turnout from their fans and then from both sides, especially game two. That place was packed. But St. Viator, once again, they just steamroll by. This time a 5-0 win. And, I got to see both games in person. St. Viator looks really good at the right time of the season right now. And boy, oh boy, I think they really showed the SHL Network world in that game too, especially Dylan.
Yeah, not only did you get to watch both games, Luke, you called play by play for both games, and you talk about game one, right? 3-0 after the first period. They score 17 seconds into that one, set the tone for the series. And then, you know, you expect York to bounce back, but they actually end up losing by one more goal than they did in game one, 5-0. And look, York is a great team. And this is a team that has beaten St. Viator in the regular season, but just this Lions team, man, they are absolutely dialed in. They're going just as hard for an SHL championship as they are for a state championship. Every shift, every play, it seems like everyone's bought in. You look at the bench reaction after they go up 4-0 on the SHL network. It is a bench explosion, almost as if you take the lead with 5 seconds left, and it's a 4-0 game in game two where you're on the verge of sweeping. They're not taking a single shift for granted. And St. Viator, I mean, if there was any doubt after this series, I would say is the favorite to take both crowns.
I find it bizarre because you talk about the celebrations. That fifth goal they scored, it was Cam Bayer on the breakaway. And, he puts away the game with just under a minute left in the third period, gets the running clock going. And their celebration, yeah, as you mentioned, it was once again another one of those moments. And I'm almost wondering, my conspiracy is that maybe for that third period, Tim Benz might have said, hey, we have to win this period. You know, I think Tim Benz is somebody who really wants to win by the period. And honestly, I feel like Benz might have even been like, win this period or I'm bagging you guys. Because that's how their reaction was. Like they celebrated like they just dismissed getting bag skated at the next practice. That's how much they celebrated. So it is a really interesting observation. And that'll bring us over to the classic rivalry on the second half of the semifinals, Loyola and New Trier. And this kind of felt like it was going to be a sweep of its own. You had New Trier with the 4-1 winning game one with four different goal scores. But then Loyola answered, and Charlie Trapp showed everybody who he was in game two. Loyola won 2-0, and Trapp recorded a 28 save shutout, while the Ramblers only piled on 19 shots, but were still able to bury two past Max Reed. And that would lead us to a game three. That was yesterday. We're recording here on Thursday, the 19th. You folks likely all saw the Loyola New Trier game three. This was on SHL Network. And boy, I mean, I did not get the opportunity to be a part of this broadcast because I had prior commitments. But when I got home, I threw on I threw on the game, 400 something watching. I was like, oh my goodness. So yeah, no, people were tuned in for a good old rivalry, and my goodness, New Trier, they exploded in that second period. Loyola would find some back eventually in the third, but it was not enough. That 4-1 second game breaking as New Trier would go up 5-1 into the break, and Loyola with a 3-2 third period, but the final ends up 7-4 as New Trier wins. Dane Lohmeyer with 2 goals and assists, Willeben 1 goal, 2 assists, and Tommy Lividitis was just a sophomore with 3 helpers of his own. So, man, this New Trier team, they can spread it out.
Yeah, well, you talk about the Charlie Trap shutout in game two, right? 28 saves. When the broadcast crew, including myself, went to talk to the coaches, we asked Adam Cheris, was that, how would you rate that? Was that a game Trap stole, or was that a game that you guys could have had better opportunities? And he said, we had 28 shots, maybe one or two were quality shots. Most of them were just that. And hey, listen, I'm not trying to dismiss a shutout. 28 saves is 28 saves, but I think it's clear that New Trier came out in this third game and only had 5 more shots than they did in that game, finishing with 32. Actually, just 4 more, but they end up winning 7-4. And Luke, it's hard to believe that 7-4 is a closer score than this game was, but Loyola with a really interesting push late in the game. It was 6-1. Donato scores with 5:34 to go. And then Kading scores with 2:59 to go. Blazejowski scores with 2:26 to go. And by the way, at this point, there was an absolutely packed student section on each side. At this point in the game, I counted and said out loud on the broadcast, I see 9 Loyola students remaining here in the third period. But they really made it interesting at the end. Dane Lohmeyer adds the empty net. Also, before I talked to Adam Cheris before the third, I was kind of joking with him saying, we get the network out, we get everyone to come out here. We were hoping maybe a closer game, some overtime, just playing around. Then after the game, when I went on the ice to go talk to Keegan Roween, who had 2 goals, he looked at me and said, "Almost got that overtime for you." So it was. I'm sure it was a little closer than he would have liked at the end, but New Trier still comes away with an impressive 7-4 victory. And the Trevians move on to the SHL final, where they will look to take down St. Viator on the road. New Trier has won the SHL championship 3 years in a row until last year when GBN took it from them in their barn. So now New Trier, obviously the state is their biggest goal, but I'm sure they'd like to get that SHL crown back because as of right now, they are not the defending champions.
Yeah, they are not. What an incredible SHL final we had last year. GBN basically storming the ice after the game. Just an incredible atmosphere and expecting more of the same with St. Viator hosting it this time around. We'll talk about the SHL final eventually, but for now, let's look outside of the SHL as well as state coming up here. Always a pleasure to look outside of the SHL. We're going to do that right now. We're going to look at the respective leagues outside of the SHL, and then eventually we will cover the round of 16. Primarily at the Red Division, we'll also take a peek over at the combined and girls divisions for state as well. Let's start with the IHSHL North Central. Our final is set. We've already played a game. Prep and Evanston met in the IHSHL Championship. It's a matchup of the past. They played just a couple of years ago in a championship series. It is a best of three, and Prep won the first game 5-2. Game two is Saturday, and game three, if necessary, is Sunday. To the Chicago Catholic League, our Kennedy Cup is set. Game one is tonight. It's actually going on right now. 7:40 p.m. St. Ignatius hosting the Providence Catholic Celtics. And they have not loaded up the game sheet, but that puck should be dropping momentarily as we're recording this game. And then Friday, February 20th will be game two, and Providence Catholic will host that game. So, going to be a fun Kennedy Cup. Over to the West Cup in the Illinois West Division. Our championship is set there. It's the Warriors and Plainfield after the Warriors swept Glenbard and Plainfield swept number one Maine. So, interestingly enough, the Warriors and Plainfield meet in the championship, the 3 and 4 seeds, and the Warriors took game one, and you are very much looking at a potential West Cup that does not have a single series go to a game three if the Warriors sweep, because it was a sweep in every game of the quarterfinals 2-0 and sweeps in the semifinals. So find that very bizarre. The Metro Girls High School League, it is a four-team playoff, and up in the Scholastic Division, the top division, the four teams that made it were Glenbrook, New Trier, York, and Fenwick, and it was eventually New Trier and Glenbrook in the final. Glenbrook wins the Metro Girls Division, outscoring their opponents 8-0. They pulled off two shutouts to win the Metro. So, boy, it's heating up outside of the SHL, inside the SHL, you name it. We're crowning champions right now, Dylan.
Yeah, and just got to say congratulations to Glenbrook on taking that Metro Girls Hockey League championship. I still remember back in high school, my sophomore year as an alum of Glenbrook South, going out to the United Center and watching them win a state championship over New Trier back in 2016-17. Forget which season that was, but that's my alma mater right there. That's their girls team, and so congratulations.
We've reached the round of 16 in the A-High State playoffs, which, of course, some would say the biggest deal of all. And we've got less than 16 teams now. One game has already been played in the round of 16. It was Stevenson on the road at St. Viator, a 9-10 game on Wednesday, and St. Viator pulls off a 6-0 shutout victory. Now, some people were almost a little curious about this game because, of course, those two teams, rivals, meeting in the state playoffs. St. Viator's first time playing them in a long time. Asher Ali, a good friend of mine, the Stevenson goalie, put up his best effort, but in the end, that St. Viator offense just remains red hot. So, a look at the rest of the round of 16 games, and then we'll highlight a few collectively. It's Fenwick against New Trier Green tomorrow, 8:15 p.m. on Friday, February 20th. When we go to Sunday, February 22nd, that's where we start to see a lot of the hockey pile in. New Trier Blue takes on Loyola Gold at 4:10 p.m. Glenbrook North's Varsity 2, who pulled off the upset of Brother Rice, will now take on Lake Forest in their Varsity 1 at 5 p.m. And then Providence Catholic at St. Ignatius. Bennett will take on GBN's Varsity 1. That's going to be a fun game. That's the 8-9 matchup. And then on Monday, lastly, it is Notre Dame against Glenbrook South. That's going to be a fun one. And then lastly, Hinsdale Central takes on York at 8 p.m. on Monday, February 3rd. So, Dylan, take a couple of matchups there to cherry pick and what you like about them.
Yeah, well, the first one I want to look at is Lake Forest versus GBN Varsity 2. I mean, first of all, GBN Varsity 2 is the only team to win their round of 32 game as the lower seed. It was all chalk besides that. So, big congratulations to them on a big win. Brother Rice is no joke. Luke, that was your underdog prediction heading into the bracket
I
reveal
heard about
show.
it.
Yeah, yeah, but great effort by them. They're the number 3 seed in the AHL, the Academic Hockey League. Actually, I think they're the number 2 seed. They jumped up at the last minute, but um, that's a team to look out for. And if you're Lake Forest, you're playing your second straight game here against a Varsity 2 team. They play Glenbrook South Varsity 2 in the round of 32. And by the way, that game ended 8-0, but wouldn't it have been something if GBS Varsity 2 also pulled off the upset and we had a Varsity 2 North-South game in the round of
That would be
16?
funny.
Another one I'm looking at is Loyola Gold hosting New Trier Blue. I mean, it's a Loyola versus New Trier matchup, even though it's not the top team. It's one top team and the other one being a Varsity 2, but it doesn't matter. Those jerseys, the aura behind that rivalry is still going to exist in this game, and I think that's going to make both teams take it really seriously. New Trier Blue might be a team to look out for. And one more, Luke, is Notre Dame versus GBS. These two teams don't play each other a lot. In fact, in my 5 years with GBS hockey, I do believe this is the first time they will match up in that time span. But as an alum of Glenbrook South, I know I knew a lot of people that went to Notre Dame because it's right down the street, and it's kind of, if not Loyola, that's the private school you go to if you're from Glenview or the Northbrook area. So I'm sure a lot of these guys on these two teams skated with each other growing up and don't get to play each other often in high school hockey. So with everything on the line, this is going to be a fun one.
Yeah, and I think too I want to look at I think Sunday 6:10 p.m. Providence Catholic against St. Ignatius, just considering that's the Kennedy Cup matchup. And they have not named a game three if those two teams were to play. So say
Well,
that they break even. Oh, go ahead.
Luke, sorry to cut you off, but I do believe I heard from a little birdie that if that series does go to game three,
No
this
way.
would be
Double
the game
jeopardy.
three. Yeah, double
Holy
jeopardy.
cow.
So,
That
yeah,
would be
so
insane.
right, because they have game one tonight, game two tomorrow. And then if that series is a sweep, it's just the state game. But if not, if there is a third game to be played, that game will not only be your round of 16, but that will also be your game deciding Kennedy Cup game.
Holy
So
cow. Yeah,
that
no,
would be,
that just adds on a whole lot of meaning right
yeah,
there. That's gonna be And if one team pulls off the sweep, watch out for the other team to try to get back on Sunday. So that's why I really
yeah,
look forward
right,
to this series, right? And also, I obviously it's the 8-9 matchup. I'm very excited to see how GBN fares against Bennett. I think Bennett is a very solid team. Yes, they don't have Hudson Schley like they did last year on the offensive end, but they've got some experience being in these big moments before, making it to the quarterfinal last year, going on SHL Network, and then beating Glenbrook North in double overtime
right.
when GBN was the 2 seed, moving on to the state championship eventually. So, yes, I know there's a
That's a
lot
good
of
point,
roster
Luke.
turnover, but if they beat GBN as a 2 seed last year, it's not impossible to beat them in the 9-8 matchup. So those
Yeah,
are
that's a
two
big
I really
rematch.
look forward to. Absolutely. And then also want to point out Hinsdale Central and York should be fun. York should be able to get their, foot back in the ground. Hinsdale Central, they got hot really early on in the season and they could catch fire at the right time here. So our quarterfinals are going to be something. Don't forget, those will all be brought live to you from the SHL Network on the 28th of February. 4 games at West Meadows Ice Arena, and we will have the semifinals the following day as well. It's going to be one heck of a weekend.
Yeah, no doubt about that, Luke. Lots of great matchups. And you know what? What's so great about this year is with all the parity, at least SHL wise, I mean, I have distinct memory of the round of 16 kind of being similar to the round of 32, where it was pretty obvious that the higher seed was going to move on to each one. I'm looking at a lot of games where you could see a sneaky upset by the lower
Absolutely.
seeded team. So it's going to be a great round of 32 this weekend and bleeding into Monday.
And then I just want to look real quick at the varsity combined division. Not a whole lot of interesting things have happened when it comes to upsets, except the Leiden Eagles at the 20 seed upset the number 13 Lakers. So Prep takes on Leiden in the round of 16 matchup. No quarterfinalists yet. We will know those eventually. Very similar schedule that they follow. All games are due by the 23rd. So we'll know our combined quarterfinals in 4 days. And lastly, over to the girls bracket, we will know those by March 1st. We've already got one semifinalist. Fenwick beat, um, oh goodness, what team is
That
that?
would be the Burlington West
Thank
Grizzlies.
you. Yeah,
Yes.
it's on the state bracket it
Yeah, I
says B
saw that
86
too.
88 89 204. I was like,
I had
yeah,
to
I'm
do
just
some
reading code right now.
investigative work as well on that one, but I guess that's for whatever reason a high and just that's how it has to be on the bracket. So I talked to Sam
Interesting.
about that, but yeah.
Oh, boy. And we'll actually know 3 of the 4 semifinalists by Monday. Glenbrook taking on Lake Forest. That's a 2-7 matchup. And the New Trier and Barrington meeting in the quarterfinals on Saturday, the 21st. York and Loyola to be announced. But
That's a big
yeah,
state final rematch from last year, Barrington
yep.
New Trier. So
Insane game last year. So we'll see how it fares off in a quarterfinal look. But now let's go back to the SHL and preview the SHL final. Well, we have our SHL final set as we mentioned, and it is chalk at the top, 1 and 2. It's chalk the whole way through, actually. We had the three
yeah.
seed beat the 6 seed finally. And besides that, all of expectation when you look at some of the top teams and how they've fared off during the regular season. So we've got number 2 New Trier who will take on St. Viator, the number 1 seed, on the road. The coach's trophy going to St. Viator for the first ever time in their school's history, joining the SHL in 2020 and making it to the SHL final in that first year. They're back to it for the first time in 6 years. And this is going to be a final game to be remembered. I mean, there's no doubt about it. New Trier's taken 2 out of the 3 regular season meetings. These two teams will meet for the first time since December 14th, where New Trier won 4-3 in overtime. Besides that, on November 9th, St. Viator beat New Trier 3-2, and on October 12th, New Trier beat St. Viator 3-1. So you look at those scores, you know they're intense, low scoring for the most part. I mean, the highest scoring one was 7, and that includes an overtime as well. So I cannot wait. We don't have a confirmed date as of right now. Obviously, you folks can check the SHL Network Instagram. We'll have it posted when we know, but
Yes.
this final, holy cow. I mean, this is going to be good.
Yeah, and if you're new to the SHL, we do have a single game championship, which personally I love. I
Yeah.
love that, that this is the final. You show up and you're gonna get your result on this night. There's something to a best 2 out of 3 series, no doubt, but there is something special about a championship game. And let me tell you something. Since the SHL started doing a single game championship, which first started in 2023, this will be the 4th year of it. This is the first time New Trier does not host the game at their rink. So
Yeah.
St. Viator, as the number 1 seed, as you mentioned, is going to get home ice, and New Trier is done on home ice when it comes to SHL. They've got a game tomorrow night, Friday, State against Fenwick. That's going to be their last home game of the season. So, like I said, Adam Cheris, he's 3 for 3 on winning State. He's 2 for 3 on winning the SHL. And the SHL is a very coveted playoffs to win. And I would say if you lose State, if you or I should say if you win SHL and lose State, the State stings, but SHL is a hard playoffs, man. Best 2 out of 3, all the way till the final. Some would argue it's harder to win than State because of that best 2 out of 3 series. But um, I mean, this is going to be pure cinema, Luke. And you know what? A couple of things I want to point out. You mentioned that it was a chalk bracket all the way through the SHL playoffs, and that was after we were saying this could be the year of the lower seeds with how many game threes we had, the lower seeds winning all the games. And what do you know? After that first game ones of each quarterfinal, would you be surprised if I told you this is the first time in at least 5 years that we've had chalk all the way to the championship? All those teams came back to win those game threes. But on the other side of things, you know, it's just going to be a great game. Mount Prospect, a great rink. They have a great pregame ceremony, great PA announcer and DJ, and I, I, I don't know. That's all I
Yeah.
got.
I'm looking forward to this. I think the goaltending matchup, how well Turpin has played, Max Reed, also a very solid netminder as well. You've got two of arguably the two nominees for the J.J. O'Connor Player of the Year right there. If you were to ask me, Jack Herstrit and Ryan Loftus, those two can both be explosive as ever. They've got great support. I, oof, I mean, you got Connor Sibigtroth on St. Viator SHL Player of the Year. There's so many storylines going into this, and the fact that it's the first meeting in over 2 months between these two prestigious teams this year, it's really going to mean something. And I would not be shocked if we see these two at the Allstate Arena on March 6th. I mean, that's the way it's meant to be. It's the top two teams in the state right there playing for a conference championship, and they could both very much be playing for a state championship. So, with that being said, let's are we going to pick our highest scoring games now, or should we?
Yeah, let's pick them now. So, I think what do we say before this podcast, Luke? We can pick any round of 16 game or the SHL final as our highest scoring game.
Mm. Well, you're the guest, so you're offers to go
Oh,
first. So we looked at last week's selections. There were two series. I was the guest, so I got to pick first. I picked New Trier Loyola. I picked wrong because they had what, seven? Or did they have six?
yeah, it was
They had
4-1
seven.
and then 2-0. So it was we're only counting the first 2 games of the series to
Yes.
make it fair. So, yeah,
And York and St. Vi or yeah, York and St. Viator found nine. So Dylan gets we're gonna go
bang.
1 point there just to keep things intriguing because now he's got four and I have 2.5. Let's look at the round of 16 games, Dylan. You're the guest this time, so you make your selection of the what now 7 matchups.
Yeah, well, 8 including the SHL final because it is technically on
Oh,
the
you're right.
table as
Yes.
a valid selection.
I doubt we pick it. I doubt either of
Yeah,
us pick it
I'm
though.
not I'm not going that way. You know what? I think that the run GBN Varsity 2 has been great. It has been uh, ins, ins, an inspiration if you're a lower seed in these tournaments. But at the end of the day, Lake Forest beats GBS Varsity 1 8-0 in the prior game. I think they look at this and say, we got lucky that we get to have another easier game going into this round of state. I think that they win by a wide margin. And for that reason, I'm picking Lake Forest and GBN Varsity 2 as my highest scoring game of the Sweet 16 or SHL final.
I'm gonna go with. I'm between two right now. I think I'm gonna end up going with Fenwick and New Trier Green. Um, I have no idea what Fenwick's gonna bring to the table, and I know they played in a really low scoring game the previous round against Deerfield. They won 2-1. But I mean, this is New Trier's game. I mean, you got the 2 seed versus the 15. Fenwick not even in the SHL anymore, and they did not have the most impressive CCHL season. I'm not counting them out. I'm just saying this is going to be a high scoring game. Green likely to have more goals, but we could see fireworks in that one. I really don't have any others that really stick out to me. I would think about picking New Trier Blue, Loyola, or Hinsdale Central York, but I think I'm going to end up going with Fenwick and New Trier Green. So we'll see how that goes.
And Luke, you know what? I just want to add something. We've been saying that the winner of this game gets a steak dinner paid for by Max Anderson. And finally, he reached out to us and said something about it just the other day. So, we've been saying that as a joke. I mean, I'm still expecting my steak dinner if I win, but technically it's a joke. And that's been our test to see if Max Anderson watches the podcast. And we went the whole season before last week. He finally texted us a screen recording of that part and put 3 dots, and that was his message. And so shout out to you, Max Anderson, because I know after that call out, you're now going to be watching all of them. So, but I'm still ready for that steak dinner. I'm feeling good about being up 4 to 2.5. So there you go. And Luke, this week's got to be for 2 points, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
we
we'll
have
go
so
2.
many games to pick from. So
Gives me a shot.
yeah,
So,
there you go. There you
all
go.
right, let's go to questions and answers now. All right, we've got 3 questions that we're going to get right through here on the end of episode number 20. Starting off, pretty simple question. Somebody asking Nutria Green or Viator, referring to the SHL final. So I'll go first, Dylan. I think this is St. Viator's game. I think with all the momentum they're riding off of how incredible they played lately, they're having a magical season, and I very much think they can continue it here, but I am so unsure about this pick. I'm not confident about either team just because these 2 teams have not played in forever. But if I were to lean one way, I'd say Viator.
Yeah, Luke. I think Viator is a good choice. I mean, I think they're probably the favorite. If there was betting odds on that, but we could ask Sam Schwartz what his model said. I know he said New Trier Green was minus 180 yesterday on his model. So he,
Against Loyola?
yeah,
Okay, okay, I was about to say.
yeah. Well, we'll have to ask him what the odds are for the SHL final. But you know what, Luke? I think New Trier remembers that game from last year against GBN. I think they know that they've won 2 out of 3 games in this season series, and I think they're going to come in here and make a statement. And I think New Trier, their eyes are on winning state for a 4th straight year. Don't get me wrong, and they very well could as the number 2 seed. I mean, that's not too bad at all. Maybe not by their standards after getting the 1 seed over and over again, but I think that they have a really good shot to win this game and make a statement ahead of state because St. Viator New Trier, I would say if you had to pick a most likely championship matchup, it's that. Because of the way the SHL playoffs have gone. And I think they're going to go into Mount Prospect Ice Arena. They're going to have a big crowd. You know that. St. Viator is too. They're coming off a huge win in front of an absolutely stuffed barn in Winnetka Ice Arena with their students. So I'm going to take New Trier to take the SHL final. And Luke, maybe you can add one of your own, but I'm going to go with a score prediction and say we have not seen any overtime in the SHL playoffs so far. Give me New Trier to win this one 3-2 in overtime.
Okay. All right. We'll just go to this last one real quick. Sleeper pick to make a deep run to the UC, obviously meaning the Allstate Arena, but can't blame you. It's been so long at the UC. I'm just gonna go real quick and fast here, Dylan. I'm gonna go with Bennett. I think just with the experience, I mentioned it before, they could maybe leap over GBN and they could find themselves to a path at the Allstate Arena, just maybe. But they're gonna have to get through New Trier or they're gonna have to get through St. Viator, pardon me. So that'll be tough, but who knows?
Luke, I'm going to take Providence Catholic. They've been to the UC before in the past, in my high school days, where they lost to New Trier. If they do beat St. Ignatius, which I think they have a good shot at being one of the better CCHL teams, they would go on to play New Trier next. And I mean, do I think it's likely? Maybe not. But if I had to pick a sleeper team, that's who I got.
All right. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. We will catch you coming next week after the SHL final.